Yo, Wagwan people, welcome back to KGX to the ZTV. Here today with another video. Today, talking about the transfer roundup, right? Never a dull day at Chelsea Football Club. Never a lack of material for folks like Fabrizio, Ornstein, Ben Jacobs, all the transfer Twitter X, whatever the hell you want to call it, ITKs, just feeding them so much information with us that it just keeps them busy, keeps them in a job, keeps us entertained, right? I know it's a lot of banter for for clubs not named Chelsea FC, but it's getting there. We're slowly getting to the point where the squad is slowly starting to take shape and starting to take form in the eyes of the sporting directors, in the eyes of Moresca, in the eyes of the owners. But you never know. We could get a bomba. We could get a shock transfer news, coming at any minute. So, who knows? By the time I put this video out, could be outdated. We could have signed Gahey. We could have signed Osherman. We could have gotten rid of Lukaku. We could have done 20 things, right? We know how this club operates lately. So let's just go and just talk about what we do know and what actually has transpired, right? So first and foremost, these João Felix and Conor Gallagher deals are done. The announcement video for João Felix, very nice with the Kanye coming home again a sample on it. Conor Gallagher also released a video, a very nice, heartfelt video, thanking the Chelsea fans and supporters and all the folks at the club for all their support over the years and helping them sort of to get to where he is today. So, discussed the Conor Gallagher kind of deal at length. No purpose and no need to kick a dead horse. So, just want to wish Conor the best over there at Atleti. I know he's the kind of player that Simeone will like, right? He's a dog. He's hard working. He puts his head down. He's not afraid to get stuck in. He's just a Simeone type player. So expecting good things from him, and hopefully everything works out. And even though he went abroad, it would still be nice to see him keep his place on the England international team. So best of luck, Connor. Unfortunately, it didn't work out the way that a lot of us wanted it to. Probably yourself as well, but things happen for a reason, and wishing you nothing but the best. So now on to the biggest news for the day, or should we save the biggest news for last? Let's save the biggest news for last, right? So we'll go through the rumors and some of the actual transactions too. So got through the João Felix and Conor Gallagher deals. This morning there was news about Bashir Humphreys, our 21-year-old center back. Started a couple games last year or maybe the year before. I remember he started versus Man City in a like FA Cup or Carabao Cup game. So he is on his way to Burnley on loan. Very very cool announcement video that Burnley did. Burnley's whoever their Twitter admin is stays dropping heat because their announcements for signings are always top notch. But yeah, he's going on loan to Championship side Burnley, relegated last year under Company, and then Company dipped, went out to Bayern. Talk about failing upwards, but that's a different story. There are rumors about a about a obligation to buy in there, potentially coming in next year. I haven't seen any hard facts that would kind of solidify that, but the rumored transfer fee is around 12 to 15 million if that is a loan with an obligation to buy. So that would be a nice bit of business for a guy that's homegrown and to be honest with you, would have never really featured for the first team other than spot appearances in the Carabao Cup, filling out the bench if injuries and things like that. So just like with Connor Bashir, wish you nothing but the best, brother. Hope you go down to Burnley and smash it. You guys get promoted to the Premier League, and you can live out your dreams of being a Premier League footballer at the highest level. So big up yourself, Bashir, and all those uh, all those around that sort of helped you to get where you needed to get. Um, so there's that deal. The big news yesterday was Broja. So Broja is going on loan to newly promoted Premier League side Ipswich. Ipswich lost on the weekend 2-0 to Liverpool. Kind of kept it close a little bit in the first half, but Liverpool missed a lot of chances, and then the quality of Liverpool, just especially in the attack, just kind of shown through. And Salah got his ninth straight goal, I think, on opening day. And then they ended up coasting. I think Jota got a goal too, so 2-0. But a lot of eyes on them because we were obviously linked with McKenna as well as United and a few other clubs. But Broja's on loan there. Should be a good loan for him, unlike unlike his loan last year to Fulham, where he goes on loan. There's a crazy clause. It actually worked out financially well for us because there's a crazy clause in there saying if he doesn't play a certain number of minutes, Chelsea get a nice little kickback. He goes. They also brought in a guy, Munoz, in January, and Munoz or Muniz, whatever his name is, just hit the ground running and was just banging goals. So we'll see how this loan works out, but he should be able to get into that first team, get himself some minutes. There is an obligation to buy, but it has a stipulation on it where Ipswich has to stay up in the league in order for the option to be triggered, and I think it was around 30 million. So we are all Ipswich fans now too. Chelsea fans, on one hand, and then Ipswich on the other, because that is a substantial amount of money for a guy who, since his injury, has looked half the player that he did, that he once was, both for Chelsea, for Fulham out on loan, as well as for the Albanian national team this summer during the Euros. Shout out to those Albanians that traveled out there. Man, their games were off the hook. But yeah, that would be a nice move if they were to stay up. A nice chunk of change for a guy that's academy, homegrown. Even though we bought him and then kind of brought him in, but that would be nice. Even if they do get relegated and he plays well, that could potentially increase his fee. There were rumors about the $15 million mark. I think last year we put like a $30 or $40 million price tag on him. So if Ipswich does stay up, it would be nice to get that actual money back. But if not, and he does play well, then maybe another team takes a chance on him and we kind of recoup that money. But in my mind, if we could have gotten rid of him this summer for anywhere between 10 and 15 million, I probably would have. He's, like I said, he's never going to make it at Chelsea. He just doesn't have the coolness and calmness in front of goal, the all-around game. He's sort of a last shoulder type of striker, right? Very, very, very pacey even after the injury. But as we've seen with Broja in the preseason this year, I think he was through one-on-one with a keeper in one of the preseason games, and he just put it wide of the target, like didn't even work the keeper. So that might have, that and seeing him in training day in and day out might have kind of convinced Maresca that he didn't really have any long-term plans in terms of fitting into the squad. So best of luck, Broja. I hope you smash it over there. We'll definitely have our eyes on Ipswich all year to see if they can avoid relegation. So it's nice to see him team up with Amari Hutchinson as well. So that was some of the news that broke yesterday. Also, there are rumors with Disasi, who's been he's been injured. I think he had hernia surgery over the summer, so he didn't feature in any of the preseason matches. Don't even think he went on tour on the U.S. tour, which is very conspicuous considering he was a major part of the back line last year. Thought he played pretty well in the first half of the season. Second half of the season sort of faded out. He did put in some really, really good performances. I remember Man City away. He was just a monster, heading everything, clearing everything out of the box, being really physical with Erling. But he also had a bozo moment in him. And then also didn't help too. And Poch used to play him at right back. I can remember him playing him right back versus maybe even that City match versus Doku, and just you don't put a guy like that who doesn't have the best mobility up against one of the most direct 1v1 attackers in the league, right? And we know Doku's final ball and his end product isn't nearly as good as what it should be. but he's still very, very tricky and very, very pacey. So um, we'll see, right? Because a lot of it depends on, Newcastle was aggressively going after Gahey, but Palace keeps knocking them back with, offers around, they want, I think, around 65 million. Although it was rumored earlier in the year that Gahey had like a $60 million release clause. But I think they want to get as much out of it as possible because Chelsea do have the sell on. So we will pocket, I think, up to 20, maybe it's 20% of his future sale. So it would be, um, I wouldn't be opposed to getting rid of him. But if we got rid of him to Newcastle and recouped anywhere, I think we paid about 40 million for him, 45 million euros, maybe about 40 million, high 30s pounds. Whoever's got the math calculation, feel free to drop it in the comments and things like that. Um, but yeah, if we could get something back around that kind of mark, it would be, I think it would be advantageous to get rid of him just based off of his logical fit inside of Maresca's system with playing a high line. He's not the paciest. He doesn't read the game at the best. He's sort of an old school throwback, right? Hoof it long, come up on set pieces, head everything, really physical, really energetic. I do like that bit about him. I like having a nice physical center back, but in terms of what you want out of a modern center back, he's just not that ideal. And to be honest with you, he was a very poor purchase, right? We got him last year sort of out of the blue when the news of Fofana getting hurt in training in the preseason. So maybe there was a bit of panic there. But like I said, he did feature a lot last year. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with him, right? If we let him go, does that mean Chalobah stays? Which I wouldn't mind. I'm not a huge Trevor Chalobah fan in terms of I don't think he should be pushing for a starting spot. I think he should be a spot starter, fill in for injuries, maybe some cup games and things like that. Definitely Conference League. But I just don't think he's good enough, and I think it's kind of evidenced by the lack of offers that have come in for him. So big clubs aren't seeing him as somebody that they need, right? And we've seen United bring in two center backs in De Ligt and Euro. We've seen Arsenal bring in a left back / center back kind of hybrid in Calafiori. We've seen Spurs bring in one last year in terms of Dragusin, and then in the summer they brought in Van de Ven. So they still have concerns. Maybe a fourth center back there. Liverpool, Konate, Van Dijk, Kwanzaa. They've got Vandenberg, but he's rumored to go. Joe Gomez can kind of play that center back / right back / left back role, but he's also being rumored to leave, and he's also injury prone. Aston Villa, it seems to be pretty set at center back. Konza, Pau Torres, just to name a few. So in the top six, there aren't too many sides that I could really see that could use him in terms of being a starter. So I think he's looking at more of that Palace range, right? Like if Palace did get rid of Gahey and that deal does go through, and maybe our Disasi to Newcastle falls through, maybe Chalobah steps up and he goes there. Especially considering that Palace just got rid of Joachim Andersen, which according to reports is he's they want to play a very high line under Glasner, and he's just not as pacey, right? He's very good at sort of playing deep, very good at playing balls, diagonals, and things like that, cross-field switches, but he doesn't seem to be a good fit with their new manager in terms of pushing up high and having that recovery pace. So it'd be interesting to see, right, what Palace does, because obviously Palace needs to fill that center back spot, and especially I can't imagine Palace letting go Elise, Anderson, Gahey, and then rumors about Eze too. That would be disastrous in terms of their ability or their confidence levels in terms of staying up into the Premier League, right? You'd be focusing a lot on putting a lot of pressure on Mateta and then Adam Wharton and then some of the new guys that they brought in to really bang and to sort of keep them in. But they've been a side that's been in that 12 to 14 to 15 range, under Hodgson, under Vieira, and things like that. But Glasner really had them cooking at the end of last year. But you look back, I think you'll look back in time, like 2-3 years, and after a lot of these guys make their moves, and you'll be like, man, Palace had a little something cooking there, right? They had Eze, they had tucked in shirt Mateta, they had Elise, they had Adam Wharton, they had Gahey, Anderson, Tyreek Mitchell. So they had a squad that could really, with one or two pieces here and there, could have pushed for conference league, maybe, right? Kind of battled it out with the likes of West Ham. Um, who else is in that sort of, maybe, well, Bournemouth now that they've sold Solanke, but they were in and around that seventh, eighth, ninth spot with a few nice additions. So we'll see how that summer saga shakes out. But the big news of yesterday, which carries into today, was so obviously Sterling was dropped for the Man City game, right? Didn't even make the bench. He was told on Friday, which you could tell because he had a PR statement out 5 minutes after Chelsea announced the team lineup and the team selection on Sunday, this past Sunday. So, you could kind of see that the writing was on the wall, right? But there were some rumors about him potentially being a swap for Chiesa to Juventus, obviously with Juventus being one of the sides, one of the few clubs in Italy that can pay those sort of wages. So that this was a very, very interesting move. So seeing as though Sterling is now part of the banishment team, right? So you got him. You formerly had Connor there. You've got Chalobah there. You formerly had Broja there. You've probably got Cassidy there. You might have Chukwemeka there. There's a probably a pretty decent starting 11 that you could fill with that. And now Sterling is there. And not only that, but also announced that Neto has taken Sterling's number 7 shirt. So the writing is on the wall for Sterling. There have been rumors about, hopefully Saudi coming in for him and him wanting to cash in on a big payday, because what makes the Sterling situation so difficult for us as a club is just the wages, right? We know that there's certain teams that would most certainly take Sterling, right? You look at a club like Spurs, who throwing out Timo Werner, right? Timu Werner. You're looking at an aging Son Heung-min, and then you're looking at wasteful Brendan Johnson, right? They dropped 40-some million on Brendan Johnson. You're looking at Kulusevski, who's sort of fallen off and almost been shifted into a more central role under Ange. So you're looking at them and you're like, could he go there and do a job for Spurs? Absolutely. Like, he could absolutely, under Ange's system, play on the last shoulder. He can still take a man on 1v1. You just have to be able to live with the frustrations of Raheem Sterling, right? That's poor touches, that's poor technique, that's poor decision making, right? We've seen it in the 3v1 versus Wolves last year when he didn't square it and he just went for glory and he missed it, right? Which is, it's not a problem if you go for it, but you got to hit it, you got to score it. So there's some clubs, maybe even United, Rashford. They'd have Rashford. Who knows what they're going to do with Sancho? But basically, their wingers are just Rashford, Garnacho, Antony, and Amad Diallo. So, could he come there and contribute? Probably there. Definitely wouldn't. Liverpool wouldn't have him back. City wouldn't have him back. Aston Villa maybe. They lost Diaby. But again, the question is just the wages, right? If we have to loan him to get him off the books this year, the only place we could loan him to that could afford his wages would be Saudi or a huge club in Spain, Barca, Real, Atleti, Juventus, maybe Inter, maybe Napoli if they got Kvaratskhelia, but I don't think they're going to get rid of him. But even with those Italian clubs, you'd probably be looking at subsidizing a little bit of their loan fee, like we did with Lukaku with Inter and Roma. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Sterling. Speaking of Roma and or Lukaku, so the back and forth, which looks like it's going to go into the last day, transfer deadline day, when it comes to Napoli and Chelsea. Conte absolutely loves Lukaku, so they are trying to get him, but they want him, and I think they offered 25 million euros. Chelsea have set a hard price of 35 million pounds, around 40 million euros. So there's a lot of room for negotiation there. And we know how um, confrontational. We know how difficult it is to deal with Napoli, right? We've done that in the past with Sarri, and we've done that with Jorginho, where we pretty much had to go through like an entire summer of trying to get those two out of there. We have had some business in the past with Napoli. I remember us sending Nathaniel Chalobah there for a wasted loan for half of a year. And like I said, we've purchased players with them, so the relationship with them should be pretty good. And it's a player that Conte, you know how Conte is, right? We've seen him firsthand. He will demand the players that he wants, and if he wants Lukaku, he won't shut up about it. And he doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who the owner is. It was Abramovich. It was Daniel Levy when he was at Juventus. Even the Italian national team. He is a strong personality that is going to demand that he gets the players that he wants for his system. And he's proven if you give him the players that he wants for his system, he will win things. So obviously, we know that the Osimhen deal is sort of kind of intertwined in that, like so many deals are, frustratingly are these days. So we will see how that saga plays out, but I wouldn't expect it to play out sometime soon, because we just know what it's like to deal with Napoli, and how the transfer negotiations go there. And unfortunately, until then, we've got this 325K a week albatross with Timberland boots on, sitting in at our training ground, not working with the first team, but hopefully staying fit so that when he goes, he can if it's just a loan, he can bang, and then we can finally get him off the books. But we will see. We'll see what happens. Like I said, by the time this video actually gets out, Chelsea could have signed someone, could have sold someone. But one thing's for sure is I'll have you locked and covered on all things Chelsea here. Tomorrow, look out for a match preview with Conference League first leg qualifier at home versus Servette from the Swiss League. We'll take a look at their squad, maybe check out some videos from them around on YouTube, and kind of put some thoughts together on their squad coming in and our squad, and what I think will be our lineup, although it's very, very early, so it's going to be hard to tell. But until then, hit that like, hit that subscribe. Let me know what you guys think of Chelsea's most recent transfer dealings. Let me know what you think of the video, ways to improve, and things like that in the comments. And as always, appreciate everybody for locking in. Peace.